Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage, Stephen Balcom.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you for being prompt in returning. If you happen to see an open door nearby, please close it. Thank you so much. If you're talking, please stop. Oh, brilliant. You guys are good. All right. So next we have a fascinating conversation with a very impressive young woman with a remarkable story to tell. But first, I'm going to hand things over to a very good friend of ours, Eric Ebenstein from TikTok, who is going to show, I believe, a short video. So please welcome Eric.
Hey friends, my name is Eric Ebenstein. I'm a Senior Director of Public Policy here at TikTok in Washington, D.C. Some of the many hats I wear at TikTok, I ensure that government stakeholders and NGOs are familiar with what TikTok is and does and what it's not and what it doesn't do. So one of the things I always like to do, quick show of hands, who actually kind of knows what TikTok is? Awesome. Who has TikTok on their phones? And who maybe doesn't have it on their phones yet, but has seen TikTok videos in the wild somewhere? All right, cool. There's like 3 of you in the back I have to talk to later and figure out what's wrong with your phone, but we're gonna get you, it's fine. I also love and get to work with our great safety partners, including, of course, our most favorite safety partner, FOSI, to make sure that TikTok has a best-in-class safety program. And I gotta say, I give a little shout out to FOSI and Stephen and the team. I've been working with TikTok nearly 5 years now, so I'm about as old as TikTok has existed in terms of company tenure. And Stephen and the team welcomed us when it was just me in a small WeWork in DC that they are actually in too. The first FOSI conference we attended as TikTok, I think there was 3 of us. And now, I don't know, where are all my TikTok people at? There's like 20 or there's a whole bunch of us. Awesome, thank you. I'll get you back for that later. So it's just great that we're working together and doing more and more together, and that's incredibly helpful for us, for our platform, for the community, and really big fans about that. So everyone at TikTok has a different feed. That's what makes it so fun, the For You feed. My feed is different than your feed is different than your feed. My feed has a weird mix that kind of reflects the weird mix that I am. I'm a long-suffering New York sports fan of the right teams, which we can debate about later, so I get a lot of their content. We just got a cat in my family, so I get a lot of cat content, a lot of dog content, a lot of random pets that nobody should have content. It's really fun and keeps it interesting. We laugh about it a lot. It's a great thing. I send videos back and forth with my family all day long. And just to break the mold a little bit, and again, everybody's different, has their different interests. I grew up in Central Jersey going up to see Broadway shows a lot, so I get a fair amount of Broadway content. And like Wicked just celebrated its 20th anniversary, so I'm getting all this really fantastic content about Wicked, the original cast, the new cast, everyone in between, and it's not stuff that you find really anywhere else, and it's kind of what makes TikTok TikTok, which is why it's so great. So I'm really excited. I'm going to invite her up here in a minute to have, more important than anything I just said, we're going to talk to TikTok creator Jasmine Vega, who has this just unbelievable, I think, only in TikTok story about how the platform is available for anyone to have life-changing opportunities with a positive impact on families, local communities, and anyone who sees the videos. So can't have a TikTok presentation without videos, so let's see the first video of Jasmine's TikTok Sparks Good.
I'm Jasmine, and TikTok helped keep my parents' dream of owning a restaurant alive. My dad always had a dream of opening up a restaurant, and my mom helped make that a reality for him. As immigrants coming to a new country, the idea of ownership of a restaurant was something that they almost could have never imagined. It really did feel like a dream. But March of 2022 was a very scary time. When business was slowing down, we didn't think we would be able to renew the lease for that upcoming June. That's when I started making TikTok videos. After we posted the video, we were slammed. People letting us know that they were trying it out for the first time. And the customers we gained from TikTok made us more optimistic about the future than ever. We were able to renew our lease and hire back our employees full-time. I always knew TikTok was a pretty powerful platform, but I never realized the extent of that power until a small-town girl like me was able to reach millions of people and help keep my parents' dream alive.
All right, please welcome Jasmine Vega. Thank you for being here. Really excited to have this conversation. Tell me a little bit about you, how you got started on TikTok, and what is your For You feed like versus what mine was.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started TikTok quarantine, the beginning of quarantine. I know it was a very experimental time for everybody. Like for me, my content was how to cut your own bangs, how to try different outfits, how to get abs in 2 weeks. Like I was trying all of that. But now as a college student, I go to UT Austin, hook 'em. Love that. So now I really enjoy day in life of different professions. I love watching doctors, lawyers, because I hope to be one day, nurses, all of that. And also instead of watching the news, I watch TikTok, which might be controversial, but it works the same, I think.
Excellent. And also, make sure you say what's your account name and how many followers you have.
Oh, absolutely. So my handle is Jasmine Vega with an extra J at the front. I have 16.5 thousand followers, so not too many, but they do engage really well with me, and I appreciate every single one of them.
Awesome. So tell us about your family's restaurant and when you decided to post about it on TikTok.
Okay, so my family's restaurant is in Corinth, Texas, which is a little bit north of Dallas, about 30 minutes. We started it 6 years ago. My dad was a sous chef in California before moving to Texas, and he wanted to continue that dream, but it just wasn't an option until my mom actually found the opportunity, and we opened it up, and we named it after my mom, Maria. That's why it's called Maria's Mexican Restaurant. So I started working there when I was 13. It was a very tough time, but as much as I complained about working, I wouldn't have it any other way.
And then you started working as the social media manager. I don't know if that's even a formal title, but what were you doing like behind the scenes for the restaurant?
Yeah, absolutely. So about in the first months of 2022, business started to decrease very rapidly. That's when our lease was up because we had a 5-year lease and we weren't sure if we were going to be able to keep the restaurant alive. And that's when we had to kind of cut down employees' hours. My parents were essentially volunteers. They weren't paying themselves to work there. My mom had 3 jobs, and so they took out some personal loans, and we had to let our social media manager go. So I decided to take on that role. I thought I was tech savvy, but I realized not too much. So I started to post on Instagram and on TikTok as well.
And then the specific video, what caused you to post that video? Describe it in your own words a little bit, if you would.
Absolutely. So I had noticed a lot, because our restaurant isn't aesthetically pleasing, it's kind of a hole in the wall, that a lot of people would come inside, look around, and realize it wasn't the right vibe for them, if you would say. So they would just leave. And I understood if people didn't want to try us out because they didn't like the food, but the fact that they didn't even give us the opportunity made me a little sad. It was a little upsetting. And so I made a video to highlight that and also hope that we would grow a stronger customer base.
All right, and since we're talking about it, let's show the TikTok.
Yo no sé cuál fue la razón. Si yo te estaba dando.
So that's it, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very, very short video.
You had a big film crew that helped you make that.
I did.
You had 50 takes, 100 takes before you got. I mean,
Exactly.
seriously though, was it just you walking around the restaurant that one day for a couple minutes until you got the 8 seconds that you liked?
It was exactly. It was super short. It was an hour before we closed. We had no orders, and I mean, except one phone order. And so I was like, well, let me just make a quick video and see if other people can relate.
Okay, so I do that all the time. A few of us do that all the time, and I wind up with like 37 video views and feel sad. What happened when you posted this video?
So at night, I didn't realize anything. I went around my daily routine, and then in the morning when I woke up, I checked it, and we were already at over 1 million views. And as the days went on, we ended up with 8.9 million views, which I never, ever would have imagined.
So 8.9 million views of your commercial for your restaurant, which cost you how much money?
$0.
I knew she was going to say that. Yeah. And what happened after that? I mean, that's nice, that's awesome, but was there any, you know, as the kids say, in real life impact?
Absolutely. So the day after I posted that, we had so many different people come in. We live in kind of a small city, so we really know all of our customers. As soon as somebody orders a to-go order, like as soon as I hear the voice, I'm like, oh, that's Mike, like, hey. But so we had so many different new customers come try us. The people were telling us that they were driving hours just to come try, and they were like, are you the girl from TikTok? I was like, yes, I am. It was very nice.
Okay, and that led to more what?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had so much more revenue than we did before. We felt more comfortable and steady and confident enough to be able to say that we could renew the lease and keep the restaurant going.
And then any growth in either staff or, you know, menu items or work in the restaurant?
Absolutely. So we started some more specials, and also we were able to hire back our employees full time, so they had all their hours, and my parents were able to start paying themselves a little bit more. And yeah.
It's pretty awesome. Did your parents know you were going to make this video ahead of time? What did they think when all of a sudden 9 million people saw their restaurant?
Yeah, so they had no idea. They're really young. They're like, I wouldn't say they're old, but they don't even really know how to work Facebook, so I think that's a little different. Sorry, Mom. So I kind of just followed them around. I followed my dad making a video, and he was like, why are you filming me? He didn't understand why. But then, yeah, I showed them, and they were very, very surprised. My mom had no idea that many people would even want to watch her video, and she was very proud of them.
Absolutely, as you should be. So did they know I guess they didn't know what TikTok was before, and they obviously know what it is now. What do they think about it? What's their engagement, if any?
Yeah, so my dad really loves it now. Sometimes he gets a little, he's like, wow, I'm a superstar now. He's like, I'll brush my hair. He'll start dressing nicer. And my mom has a TikTok now. She has all of 2 followers, and I am one of them. So yay for her.
Very good.
Yes.
All right, good. So what was the engagement like? We hear a lot about, social media and comments, and they can be positive. They can also be negative. What was your experience like?
So we had a lot of people offer a lot of support, which is very sweet. People were giving us recommendations. And of course, there was some negativity, but I think posting on any digital platform, negativity is inevitable. But I'm kind of the type of person who is a little emotional and doesn't respond to it well, so I was a little worried. But honestly, as soon as you responded, people wouldn't be as mean if you were like, oh, actually, it wasn't because of this. And they'll be like, oh, okay. And that was very surprising. But whenever other social media platforms were reposting our video, that's when I noticed the comments were a little bit meaner, and I had no idea why. But yeah.
Okay. And I think we talked about this a little bit. There's all these different features on TikTok where you can have comment filters and other control over your feed, but it sounds like you like to kind of keep it natural and engage if you feel like engaging or not feel like engaging.
Exactly, yes. I wasn't deleting any comments. I was responding to a few, but of course I was limiting myself because I didn't want to get too sad.
So, and also you have another full-time job, which is being a college student. So you're doing that, but you're also still making the TikTok videos. How do you balance? How do you spend your time?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know Google Calendar is the biggest thing now, but I love my handy-dandy old notebook planner. I think the satisfaction of crossing off a task after you finish it is the best. So I really rely heavily on my planner. I also have 2 jobs apart from school, so it is a little bit tough, but I like to take time to do hobbies. I do random hobbies now. I joined a dance group. I take self-defense classes. I'm playing pickleball. Like, it's all very random, but it helps me take a break from work and school.
So you're a full-time student, you have another job, and you're doing all these things. Do you set limits on yourself for how much TikTok you watch, or does it depend on your schoolwork, or how do you balance, the fun and the work and everything else you're doing?
Yeah, of course. So I like to take study breaks. So I'll set myself, I'm like, okay, if you study for 30 minutes, you can have 10 minutes of TikTok. And then instead of using TikTok for work, of course, I like to just watch it for fun and see what other creators are making.
So you mentioned what your TikTok looked like back in the day. How has your feed changed, evolved, looked different?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, like I mentioned, just a bunch of professionals that I love to watch day in the life of, current events, and also just, of course, makeups, get ready with me, all the trend nowadays.
All right, great. So what's next? I mean, the business is doing incredibly well. You're a college student. Like, where do you see yourself headed, yourself personally and professionally, and for the business as well?
Of course. So I think success for me would look like for the restaurant just to be steady. So right now, me being here today is great because I'm not at work where I normally am. So I think that's awesome that we're able to have employees that are able to cover. And also, an expansion would be super amazing. I think in the future, we would love to be able to have more Marias across Texas. And yes.
And can we say hi to Maria and thank her?
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Maria. Hi, Mom.
So one of the other things we see is small businesses kind of looking to help each other out. Or maybe you learned from some other small businesses, you saw what other companies were doing that you could mimic. What are there tips that you've seen out there that you followed in your kind of content creation journey?
Absolutely. So the video that I made was actually one that I had watched before, and so I just wanted to revamp it and use ours. But for small businesses, I really would say that don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because I really was. And I know putting yourself out there opens you up to constructive criticism or just negativity, but it also opens you up to a lot of support. We had so much support from people all across the country and from Australia asking if we deliver. I was like, oh. And so that's what I would say.
Okay, great. And then what other tips would you say, for small businesses just starting out, just starting the same journey as you, other than, in addition to not being afraid to, I mean, you're still making videos for the restaurant now. I assume not as many 9 million video view videos, but you're still making them and they're getting great traction. What are you trying to show? What are you trying to highlight? What's your advice to, future Jasmines?
Absolutely. Well, I would say, of course, it sounds cheesy, but don't give up. I know the start is really hard. You're in the restaurant or in your business all the time, and it's essentially all of your life. You feel like you don't have time for something else. But I would say to make time for yourself, do some other things, but also know that it'll get better.
Awesome. We want to make sure that there's time for questions, and I think there's microphones somewhere in the audience. So I'll stall a second or two while people start thinking about all the questions that they have for Jasmine. But if there are any questions, please raise your hand, and if I can see you, I will call you out. In the back right corner, I see one. And I was told to please wait until the microphone gets there so they can hear you on the live stream.
So how do you decide to use TikTok as an avenue for your business? Did you use other platforms at all, and kind of what inspired you to do that?
Absolutely. So I did use Instagram for a long time. Even when we had our social media manager, I was posting on Instagram, but it would only get about 20 likes. And so obviously when I would scroll on TikTok myself, I would see that a lot of other businesses had success with gaining new customers and gaining great engagement. And so I wanted to try it out for myself, but I really didn't have high expectations for it. And so it definitely worked out.
And following up on that question, I guess, why do you think that is? Is it just different audiences? Is it different ways of engagement? Is it just random? Why do you think your TikTok gained traction, whereas your other experiences didn't?
I really do think that people like to support other businesses, but also, of course, the algorithm. I mean, it's very specific, and if people are engaging with other feel-good content like this, of course, they'd want to watch others as well.
Great. I think I saw another hand up.
So, Jasmine, thank you so much. You're totally inspiring young women, and thank you so much for sharing the stage with Eric. I think as an immigrant myself, sharing stories about our families is super important, and the concept of belonging is really important. Do you feel that sharing your story and sharing your family's restaurant has helped you kind of gain a new community? And do you feel like that you belong to that community? I'm really interested about that.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, first of all. And of course, I would say I grew up in a predominantly white suburban area, so I definitely never felt like I belonged. We were one of the first Mexican restaurants open there. And so my parents never imagined to have something like this. They came with no papers, just hoping to survive. And after they became citizens, they were really just working jobs that they could to have food on the table. And so this was definitely something that I never would have imagined they had, and they didn't either. And now that we had so much support, I realized that people want to see other people thrive. And I really felt like that with the community.
Any other questions? I see one in the middle.
Hi, thank you. This is for Eric. I can't help but ask, what is your assessment right now of the efforts to ban TikTok? What do you think is the hardest argument for the company to go up against right now?
I think that there
how
are.
Are you doing that?
Yeah, no, I mean, we're having constructive conversations across governments, and I think that where there are serious questions or concerns about data security or where you store the data, the best way to address that is by having an actual conversation about where you store the data. And we have a trusted technology partner who stores all of our US protected user data here in the United States, and we're continuing to make steps forward with that. I'd love to see Congress come together and try to work on a national privacy law so we can have real solutions to actual problems, and we'll see where that goes. But we're engaged every day in making sure our platform is a great place for anyone who's using it, whether it's me, whether it's Jasmine, whether it's you, and we're going to keep on working forward towards that end.
Hello? That sounds very optimistic. So are you optimistic that this is going to recede into the background at some point soon, or what's your?
Everybody who knows me says what an optimistic person I am, so I think that's exactly how I feel. I mean, we're in an interesting time in the world right now, and for us who work at TikTok and who enjoy TikTok, there's 150 million Americans who use TikTok on a monthly basis. That's roughly 1 out of 2, and if you look at global numbers, it's over 1 billion people. You know, everyone says 1 billion people can't be wrong, so I feel like we have a pretty good product here and a pretty good thing, and we're working on making it better and better every day. So, yeah, I'm pretty bullish on the future of the company. Thank you. I think I saw another question over to the right.
Hello. Okay. Hey, Jasmine. So, when you were more of a younger user, did your parents or yourself put any kind of parental controls or management tools in place? And now that you're a bit older, do you have anything kind of set for yourself so that you maybe don't encounter as much negative content, or if so, why or why not?
Yes. So my parents, again, weren't very technologically versed, so they really didn't know what could be out there other than what they saw on the news sometimes. So they didn't restrict me, but I felt like I knew enough to where I knew what to interact with and what not to interact with. And of course now I think I'm more strategic about it. I try to set limits for myself because I know TikTok can be very addicting. People can be on it for hours and hours. And of course, as a student, I try not to be. But sorry, what was the other part of your question? Or just...
What kind of controls do you use other than, I guess it sounds like you have screen time controls. Why or why not?
Yeah, of course. What other kind of?
Well, I mean, I would just say, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, we talked about this on this stage last year as well. Jasmine's now 19, so it's not as applicable, but we have a family pairing feature at TikTok that actually we worked and talked with FOSI about in the beta testing days of an adult such as myself can connect my account to that of my teen's account and control their TikTok experience from my device. So you're not fighting over the iPad and giving it and changing it back and losing control over it. And you can put on screen time limits, all kinds of different things. And within the app, of course, we also have different safety limits and settings depending on the age of our user. And we work with FOSI on research, and the FOSI research has kind of led us to these conclusions and helped us along our product path where everything's different by family. My family's different than your family, different from your family, and the best thing you can do, what the research suggests, is have that family conversation. Figure out what makes sense, what you like, what you don't like. If it's a weekday and your kids and your teens in school, maybe less TikTok or no TikTok. If it's a weekend, great. I was talking to somebody the other day whose college student uses TikTok a ton, but it's finals time, or when it's finals time, they're going to delete TikTok for a while. Mm-hmm. I'm not on the engagement side, so I feel fine saying, great, delete TikTok. Reinstall it after you're done with finals, but for the time being, do what you need to do, and that's what every family should do differently. Have time for maybe one last question if there's one more? I see one up front here.
Jasmine, have you heard of the millennial pause?
I have, yes.
It cracked me up because as a baby boomer, I thought, gosh, it would be really, really great to just pause at the beginning of a video that I created, right? You know, for Gen Xers, a pause at the beginning is just so like Luddite, right? But so my question is, what kind of advice would you give a baby boomer to become a TikTok creator?
Oh my, well, I guess it depends your context. I love that you mentioned the millennial pause because I think about it sometimes too. Even myself, I talk pretty fast, and I know a lot of Gen Xers talk or Gen Z, my bad, Gen Zers talk pretty fast too. But I would say, of course, I think the first 5 seconds are super important. So a lot of people use hooks, whatever you want to say. But people also very like authenticity. I don't know if you have something different about your life that maybe is more niche, that some people don't know about, that they would love to see. Yeah.
And I would just add on to that. I mean, so free TikTok advice from the expert creator here, but I learned from the best. The algorithm is triggered by if you watch a video from start to finish. So the millennial pause, both good and bad, you want to make sure you don't have extra time in your video that people aren't watching, because if they don't watch the video to completion, you don't get that same boost. Right now, there's a new Fortnite season. I'm getting a ton of Fortnite content on my algorithm, which I love, and I know it's super dorky, but it's fine, it's me. And the creators, the really good creators, are great at it. Some of them even stop their video maybe a second or two short, so that I think it's still going to continue. So I watch it to the end, and then before I know it, I'm watching again. And that's definitely a little tip that helps boost them. But I applaud you for going for it. It costs nothing. It's fun. You're going for it. I know you will. And we'll see where it works out. Next year we'll have you up here. I think we're about at time, but Jasmine, before we go, name of restaurant, location of restaurant, and type of restaurant.
Yes, it's called Maria's Mexican Restaurant. It's 30 minutes north of Dallas. If you all have any other conferences in Dallas, you should definitely go. It's a Mexican restaurant. It's authentic, so it's not Tex-Mex. I'm sorry. And yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much.